Hey, coming at you live today on MCU Mondays. I'm your host, Chris, here with my co-host, Debbie, as usual, my partner in, I'm not going to say crime, because we're usually pretty well behaved.
Sometimes. I am.
I mean, we don't break laws.
Well, no, but...
I'm not talking about social niceties, all right? And arrest me, you know. Who's going to? The society police? I think that's just the police. No, I don't know.
Yeah. You
anyway,
don't know who's watching.
Yeah. Well, let's broadcast this out and see who we can get. When the aliens come down and they're like, show us Chris and Debbie. We've seen MCU Mondays. And it's great. We want to see some more. All right, you Skrulls. Here we go. Anyway, yes, it is MCU Monday. And I'm very excited for what we got to talk about today, which is mostly the latest episode of Moon Knight, which, without going into any detail on it yet, I'm really enjoying the show. Debbie, what do you think so far?
Yeah, I'm digging it. It's groovy.
It is groovy.
It is. It's
like
very, I don't know, for me, it's kind of like nothing like what the MCU has put out so far. I mean, we've dealt with mental issues before, the whole
but nothing
team.
Like this. The closest we've actually come to this is probably when Scarlet Witch was inflicting visions on people in Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really, something that had to, the characters, that was just her using a power against them. This is something the hero has to deal with, if you will. But yeah, we're going to talk way more about that as we get into episode 2 of Moon Knight. We're also going to very briefly talk about what else is going on, such as Morbius and a new trailer for Doctor Strange, which I think a lot of people are excited for. I've already got my tickets, so I am excited. But before we do all that, we got to have our theme song. So here we go.
Theme song guy.
Oh yeah! It's MCU Mondays on Geekers Now. We're talking about all Geekers Now. Movies and TV and comics, news, other opinions, breaking news and reviews. It's Geekers Now. It's Geekers.
So there's our Moon Knight episode 2 opener. If you're familiar with the show, I make a new one for basically every episode we do. And if you need proof of that, I got 6 of them I could play right now. And actually, I will play one other one.
Theme song guy.
Oh yeah! It's MCU Mondays on Geekers Now. We're talking about all Geekers Now.
Yeah, it's part of the Stan Lee one. I don't have time to go through the whole one right now.
That's probably my favorite one.
It is a great one, but it actually also uses too much pure... I didn't do anything to it. I basically just took... and the internet has a problem with me sometimes when I play it out. So, but you should look up the Stan Lee intro. It was only used on Captain Marvel. So that is the Stan Lee intro. You can look it up on YouTube, and it's a good one. Let's see. And so, first thing we were going to talk about, you said that, let's talk about Morbius first. I still haven't seen it. So what does that tell you? And according to the numbers, it looks like most people haven't gone to see it. It's the second worst box office opening. They're making records in a bad way. And it's not part of the MCU. It's Sony. It's Marvel adjacent. It is Marvel characters, but it's not an MCU. It's a Sony. Part of the Spider-Verse they're creating. Well, I guess I wish them better luck on other films, but that was the thing that I've said the entire time is, oh, great. a Spider-Man character, and who's not in the movie? Spider-Man. So you lost me, all right? That's why people aren't showing up. Again, the other part is probably Jared Leto. I don't know that how much of a draw is he like by himself. It's kind of interesting to see what he'll do. That's why he works all right in an ensemble, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of his. But I didn't even see the movie, so I'm not going to talk any more smack at it. Debbie, you've seen it. How do you feel?
Well, like I said last week, I thought it was a decent origin story, and I don't know if that's why. Well, I'm sure there's many reasons why it's not being very well received. Oh my God!
He said he wasn't showing up today.
I am beat. I'm exhausted, and I've been run over, but I'm here. It's Moon Knight, man.
Wow.
I feel like Steven, you know, I'm just completely I'm never going to sleep again.
Maybe you should try watching Morbius.
That's what I've heard.
Because J-Bisk over there, Geek and I, is calling it Borbius.
Oh.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it. So I'm not gonna talk smack at it, but I think I speak for my thoughts on it when I say no, I'm not gonna go see that movie. I don't believe that's worth my time or money.
When it hits digital, like when it hits HBO Max or Netflix or whatever, wherever it comes
they'll
first.
probably advance the time on that since it's not going to do an extended theater run. I can't imagine. How long did they keep it in theaters? Oh, 3.5 weeks.
This is one of those movies where years and years down the road you will say I was going to go see that movie in the theater, but I slept in that day.
Whatever. On the other hand, next topic, Doctor Strange. I feel like we've said enough on Morbius. A new trailer came out. Wait, Jared Leto DC movie, the worst.
He had the worst DC movie, and he apparently now has the worst Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's not looking good for him in the superhero genre. I want to say, hey, how you doing, Avocado?
I don't know if it's because I don't know. I think he created a lot of I'm not gonna say flack, but I guess he's a method actor. So when he gets in character, he doesn't like to get out.
Yeah, and the characters that he has had are the Joker, and the Suicide Squad version of the Joker, which I was hearing he was like mailing dead rats to people and leaving used, and it's like, hey, calm down. And I think the best comments, I'm glad that you brought up the fact that he's a method actor, because I think I was reading comments of people replying to stuff about Morbius on Facebook, and because comments can be fun. Comment sections are better than the article or whatever. So I'm diving into these comments, and somebody said, Jared Leto is what I got from Wish when I ordered Daniel Day-Lewis. And I was like,
because yes. Daniel Day-Lewis is notorious. He's a notorious
method actor, but he's great. Like when the movie comes out, the movie's amazing. Now, people have said it's been a nightmare working with him because of that, but the movie at least succeeded. Whereas with Jared Leto, it's like, so we went through all that.
Not so much.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen a movie with Daniel Day-Lewis that I really like, so I don't know if that says something about my taste. Or
I'm sorry. Battlefield Earth came out after Waterworld, so
oh Lord,
yeah, worst flop since Battlefield Earth. Sorry, Stuart, but
that was a stinker.
So, do you think Morbius will come back years later and be something a cult classic?
No.
Waterworld, I feel like people go back and watch that just to be like, I had to see what they were talking about.
You know what? To me, Waterworld to me was fun, and I mean, it wasn't like the greatest movie ever, but it was a good popcorn movie.
Yeah,
and Dennis Hopper was.
And sometimes hilarious. I like to sit back and watch a movie that I wouldn't necessarily be like dying to go see in theaters day one. You know, there are all sorts of different comedies and stuff that I'll definitely put on now just to watch, just to enjoy, that I wouldn't have been like, I need to see this in theaters. So you never know. I doubt it'll happen with Morbius, but Waterworld is great. And it can flop in the theaters and then become like the Boondock Saints, for instance, and that wasn't allowed to be put out in theaters because it was right after the Columbine shooting, apparently, was their reasoning, and now there's stuff that's way worse than the Boondock Saints out in theaters, but they only released it in like 13 theaters or something, but then it became a cult hit. Enough so that they 10 years later were like, let's make a part 2.
There was another one I was actually watching, and I can't for the life of me remember. Maybe it was Galaxy Quest.
Love Galaxy Quest.
Oh yeah,
they were actually going to make a whole TV series of it. There's a documentary out on, I believe it's on Amazon Prime, but I know it's out and it was free for me to watch, so I assume it was on Amazon Prime. But it's like called Never Give Up, Never Surrender, and it's a documentary all about Galaxy Quest. And apparently, right before Alan Rickman died, they were planning on all the original cast members getting back together and doing a TV series.
Oh, wow.
I would have watched
and
it.
I know I would have watched the crap out of that. And they were all talking about it. But then, of course, tragically,
yeah,
Alan Rickman passed away. And it was like, I think that everyone who was going to be part of that project was kind of like, if we had all come back, it would have been an obvious yes. But the fact that he just, I think that took the wind out of those
you would have
solar
to replace
sails.
him. Yeah.
So that's truly unfortunate. But I would definitely recommend that documentary. I'm pretty sure it's called Never Give Up, Never Surrender. If you're a Galaxy Quest fan, which I am, and most people are, I think most people that have seen the movie are like, this is amazing. So if they're, our kind of people,
It had I mean, really, it had a lot of big names in it too.
Yeah.
Well, now they're big, but they weren't
Now they're
necessarily at the time. Yeah. Well, a lot of them still kind of were. I mean, you had Alan Rickman, Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver,
Justin Long.
Justin Long was playing the nerd. Yeah.
Gosh, one of the aliens is somebody of note too. Oh, the guy that played Monk. Can't think of his name now.
Shalhoub?
Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub. Yeah.
And
basically,
Chris's favorite person.
Yeah. Yeah. Guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Bring him back for Armor Wars. Oh, I thought I had his actual clip there. No, that's just the clip I use most on Twitter. Is the clip of Guy turning around in the end credits and just going. Sam Rockwell, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he is a genius. And
we love him.
He plays Guy, the expendable castmate. You don't even know my last name. What's my last name? Maybe you're not expendable. Maybe you're the plucky comic relief. Plucky? Yeah. I do have one.
Oh, that's not right. No.
Yes. That's when Tony Shalhoub starts making tentacle sex with the alien lady. Oh, that's not right. Glorious. I'm so glad I had that. Okay. Moving on from Galaxy Quest. Debbie, you said there was a new trailer out for Doctor Strange. I don't think I've watched it, but we don't need to watch it now necessarily. But what you said, you thought it gave a hint as to the main bad guy?
Well, I mean,
it's still confirmed. Go on.
No, the other bad guy that I predicted back in WandaVision,
Nightmare.
And
they keep talking about nightmares and they keep talking about dreams, and it's just like,
I seem to recall when they announced this movie that they had said this is going to be like a horror movie and that Nightmare will be the big bad in this one. But maybe I don't.
It could have been. And
I might have dreamed that or nightmared
Ooh.
it.
Kiff, we have a conundrum.
But just know I said it first back in WandaVision.
Yeah, but you said it was about WandaVision. So are you saying that what was happening, it's still a continuing thing? like the children. That's how that's tying together.
Yes.
So like, and do you think Mephisto's involved then? Because that was another thing you said, because that storyline, and I'm not saying you're wrong when you said that, because in the comics, Mephisto is key to Wanda having the children that she has. So do you think we're actually going to see anything Mephisto-wise in this?
I don't know. I haven't seen or heard anything, but
So you're more confident
I would be a happy camper, because who said it first? Me. But I don't know. I just from what they've been saying in the trailers, Wanda said something about dreams, and Doctor Strange, Stephen, he was saying he keeps having nightmares and dreams, and I don't know. It's just, maybe it's just wishful thinking, because I want.
Thor, what do you know?
Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Or his dream.
I did not mean to cut you off, Debbie.
Right.
I didn't. But you were talking about Doctor Strange having dreams, and then I got caught between showing this clip and that other one. And then I ended up playing the other one at the wrong time.
Dan, all right, let me ask you this one time. What master do you serve?
What master do I serve? What am I supposed to say, Jesus?
No, you're going to say Nightmare.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but boy, it sure seems to be leaning that way. And if Mephisto shows up, I'll be a happy camper.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people will.
I want to see Ralph Boner again
As Quicksilver. They have to redeem that somehow.
They really should.
This would be the perfect opportunity.
And you know, something else too that I'm actually, as much as I'm anxious for the movie itself, I'm really anxious to see the end trailers, to see where this, because I mean, you've had WandaVision, we've had Loki, now Spider-Man Far From Home. You've had all these things that have pointed to the multiverse and expanding the multiverse, and now this movie seems to be the culmination of it all. This one's going to be the kind of the one that answers a lot of the questions that everyone has. And that being the case, if that's the case, then what's going to happen? I mean, what are the end credits going to lead to? I mean, are we going to
Thor Love and Thunder,
the Kang variant? I'm anxious.
Could
to
be
see
Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie itself as well, especially with all the multiverse stuff. But I really liked what you said there. Is like, this is like the culmination of a lot of different stuff coming together, a lot of different characters. Isn't it interesting then that leading up to it, we have a brand new character, which is multiple characters in one.
That he's not a multiverse.
Yeah, it's not like him talking to an alternate. It's just at his alternate personality, not literally a different person. Okay, people, are you understanding this yet? Separate realities are not separate personalities. This is something different. He's also been called Vanilla Deadpool. David, you sent me that.
I got that off the Marvel Cinematic Universe Facebook page. It was hilarious.
Yep, it's at a great point later in this episode when Steven is in control and he's in the suit and he says
the suit.
Yeah, the suit.
The literal suit.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. My name is Steven with the, and then Deadpool cuts him off and says, "Shut up, Vanilla Deadpool." And also, I made this in honor of that.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it.
Come on the shoot!
Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
You know
You're
what?
welcome.
I
I'll
thought
be sending it out after this episode. You're the first people to see it.
I thought that exact same thing when he did that, and I was like, "Oh, there's the superhero ending."
That was the first thing I thought. I was going like this. I was literally sitting there going like that. Because it's just, and then he falls down. I was like, that's fun. And so when I was editing it, I was like, let's chop it up a little. I didn't take a lot of time doing this, but I am going to show it again.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
It's fun being me. But it's not fun being Moon Knight. Let's talk about Moon Knight. You guys ready to talk about Moon Knight?
Sure.
Also a character I can completely identify with, because I remember having times in my life where people are telling me stories about the things I did nights or days before, and I'm like, I don't believe it. Now, granted, I was just very drunk at the time, but it still rang as a chord to me when he's waking up places and people are like, that's you on camera right there. It's like, that's not me. It's like, it's drunk you were blacked out. No, for Moon Knight, it's a very different circumstance. So where does this episode begin? We're in the bathroom, right? Is that the very beginning? Let me see.
I think so.
Yeah, he wakes up from a dream again. Or not from a dream, but from after blacking out, I suppose.
Yeah, he wakes up remembering things, but again, his apartment, and then he checks his stuff and he's like, no, everything's fine, because that's for the running out of bed and getting caught by his leg thing. So then he has to go and he tries to talk to the mirror and that doesn't work this time. Foreshadowing, right? Because it's gonna start to. And then he goes back to the scene of the crime. He literally returns to the scene of the crime, which happens to be his job. And he talks to the security guard who can't get his name right. But that's, I think, funny because no one can get his name right because he's like 3 different people. So what did you guys think of the opening and him getting to there? And
I thought it was good that the jackal that was chasing him, he's the only one
didn't show up on the camera.
Yeah, he didn't show up.
It just shows, it makes him look nutsier than ever. And you as a person watching, aren't you just like, unless you know about the character and you know about this, if you don't know that those are just invisible, it just kind of makes you wonder, is this guy just nuts? Like, did he just imagine all of that? And then
because he's sitting there going, wait for it, wait, it's
and then
coming.
There's no thing that was chasing him, and he's like, oh no. Especially for someone who has the types of issues in his life that he had. None of the supernatural stuff, just the stuff that we've seen his day-to-day life before he dove into the supernatural, and it was a lot of lines in the sand, quite literally, because of he's worried that something's going to happen. He's going to wake up somewhere where he doesn't remember things, which is actually, it's pretty interesting, like why there isn't any of the Sandberg, like how did he get back? What happened? And so there's kind of that question, like what has been happening? What has been happening to this guy? And then he gets fired. They were like, so you went nuts and you trashed our bathrooms.
No, you destroyed the loo.
You destroyed the loo. And they're very kind to him, actually. I mean, I guess that's a great place to work, because I feel like they're like, we're not suing you. We want you to get whatever help you can, and you are being fired, but we wish you the best. I'm like, this is America. You'd be sued. You've been sued. And then, so he gets, he loses his job. He's having kind of a little bit of a breakdown. So he goes and he talks to his best friend.
The gold guy?
Yeah, the gold guy.
Crawley. Now, in the comics, Crawley is a homeless guy. that
He probably is homeless.
This guy
in
could
the-
be homeless.
I was
He
gonna say,
paints
he's probably
himself
homeless.
gold.
but Steven uses him as an informant on the streets to give him the down low on, any kind of types of street crime that's going on. So I'm kind of wondering what the heck, what's the connection here? Because I don't know if he's just there as an Easter egg, a nod to the character in the comics, or if he is actually going to be doing something, or maybe he doesn't really respond to anything unless it's Mark and not Steven.
Or what if it's the other personality?
Oh, Jake?
Jake, right? Hasn't been introduced in the show.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So maybe it's that. The wrong person's been talking to him. Although, I don't know if we're going to have a chance to hear from this guy again, seeing as how the episode ended, but we'll get to that when we get to that. After talking to Gold Guy, Crawley, if you will, I call him Gold Guy. I love gold. He goes to a bunch of different storage locker places. And finally, he finds a place and he's like, my name's Steven, and I have another name, Mock. No last name. And the guy's like, of course I remember you. And he's like, yeah, the guy working is like, oh yeah, never forget a face.
Number
We've
43.
interacted before. So then he gets to his storage compartment because he had found the stuff in his room.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the key. So the key has led him there. And it's just a bunker, essentially. Special forces bunker, bags with guns and large amounts of multiple different currencies in there. And he starts freaking out. And then Mark starts talking to him again.
I'm honestly reminded of the Hangover movies a lot. now that you're talking about it the way you're talking about it, I'm looking
Just
at
saying,
it.
you
It's
did
just
this
like,
and you can't remember
you
it.
Can't remember.
Prove it. Well, here's video footage of you doing it. Why you can't? That's
We stole a tiger from Mike Tyson. What?
yeah. This is what people with extreme alcoholism go through all the time, and I guess also people with dissociative identity disorder or whatever he technically has. He has some sort of moon problem.
He has a moon night disorder.
Every fortnight. Woo! But yeah, so Mark then starts talking to him, and Steven just starts to lose it. And I really like how they started working with the reflections in this. I'd be interested to see how they filmed this, because I have to imagine it's some sort of green screen thing that they're doing, because the reflections obviously are doing different stuff. But I'm also wondering how they limited actual reflections before putting this on. I would just, as like someone that does film kind of stuff, be interested to see how this was shot and then edited together, because normally with reflections, that's the last thing you want. Everything shows up in it, aka the camera, the crew, all different kinds of stuff. So they're using some sort of technology here, probably green screen, but I just think it worked really well the way he keeps showing up. And
it's like Lord of the Rings when you had Smeagol and Gollum fighting each other. There was especially there was that one scene where he was talking to his reflection in the pool, and the good guy was in the pool and the bad guy was out here talking to him, and they were back and forth.
Yeah. And of course, Lord of the Rings is amazing. And I mean, the stuff that they were doing with that was, again, pushing the boundary of what you could do. The motion capture stuff they did with Gollum, Smeagol, was insane. When you're watching this CGI character grapple with someone else and like their clothes are moving because they so completely, and now it's they do it all the time, but back then it was like,
it's common.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, after it gets that much attention, it's like, let's just do this for everything now. And so, yeah. Then you get that's an overcorrection.
Let's make everything 3D.
Yeah.
We'll have a regular and a 3D of everything.
Everyone's sick of it.
I don't want to go see Manchester by the Sea in 3D.
What's the point? And then they start doing stuff purely for like 3D shock, and it's like, gee, I wonder why they shot this scene. Things could come at me. Debbie,
Chris.
what'd you think of the bunker and subsequent escape?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because now we're getting to see Mark's side, you know, what he's all about. Because I mean, there's just all kinds of crap in there, and like you said, the you know, just a plain cot. I mean, he's a mercenary. They haven't said it here in the show, but in the comics, he was also a Marine. So it kind of showed that he can live simplistically. He doesn't need much. And, you know, he's a mercenary, so he's got to be able to pick up and go, just pick up things and, you know, not have to worry about too much.
And he apparently doesn't have
I
to
can handle living in a storage unit, but
well, he also apparently doesn't have to chain himself to the bed or put lines of sand on the ground or tape his door.
Yeah.
These are all things that are
but he knows what's going on, where Steven has no freaking clue.
Well, there you go. That you're exactly right. This is showing the difference in these two characters. Look at their home life. That's how we're showing that these are two different characters. Yes, it's still his face. Yes, he still looks like that person. But this personality, when this personality takes over, it's very familiar with things that he might not be. But then again, the Stephen Grant personality, he might be familiar with things that Mark might not be. Because we see later at the end of the episode that it's actually difficult for him to cross that boundary to actually talk to Steven. That it's difficult for that kind of thing, and it shouldn't be happening. And so there's kind of, this is not the way this is supposed to be working, if it really ever worked at all.
I mean, it was even brought up with the when Steven had Mark's wife. I know that's weird because it's all the same thing, but they're in the apartment together, and she's talking about, oh, you speak Greek now, and when did you start reading, and why is she your favorite author or poet or whatever? And it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's stuff about Steven that Mark has no clue.
Yep. And so that's speaking of which, we have Steven breaking out of the bunker. He's like, I'm going to turn this into the authorities. I'm going to turn myself in. And he says some very noble type things. Like, I don't want to hurt anyone else. He thinks he's still thinking of this as like a mental episode where he goes and he hurts people. And so he's like, I've got to put a stop to this. And so he says, I'm going to go turn myself in. And then we get the corridor chasing through the storage units, which you want to talk about mirrors and mazes. I mean, those places are exactly like that, and it is ridiculous. Not to mention there's a moon god wandering out, and the lights are flickering. So this is, yeah. And he's like, give it back. Or he says something crazy in an awesome moon voice.
Creepy. They did a really good job with him. I mean, just downright. I wouldn't want to run into him on a dark street.
Exactly. And he's like the floating skull head with the... It's intimidating. And he's very tall. Very intimidating. Scares the crap out of Steven, who's already having a bad day. He runs outside, though. He manages to get outside, gets picked up by his wife, who he doesn't know is his wife. But it's his wife, but it's not his wife. It's Mark's wife. But
it's his wife.
It's his wife. And she starts asking him, what are you, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's just go to my apartment. Which by that he means his apartment and not Mark's apartment. He just left Mark's apartment.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's getting complicated.
And it was interesting. Well, I guess this comes a little bit later. And I'm not sure if he said it to Layla or if he said it to the detectives, but he said, this is my mom's flat.
And
I'm
she
like,
said something like, "Oh, you're talking to your mom again," or something like that.
yeah, but if it's his
And-
mom's flat, where's the mom?
He said, okay, so he said, it's my mom's flat. She said, you're talking to your mom again. And he stopped for a minute because we were discussing this as far as is Steven's mom
Alive.
dead or alive? I think that was a question brought up in the last one. And he stopped for a minute like, well, is she really alive? I mean, it was one of those things where it was like, well, maybe she's not alive. But then she's like, well, you're talking to your mom again. So she obviously knows this mom and has some kind of relationship with her. So is Steven's mom dead and Mark's mom alive, or how does that work?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. This show is such a mental trip.
And it
I
could
mean,
be
it's worse for
maybe,
Steven, but I feel like I'm on the same journey.
and maybe he's talking to someone that's just pretending to be his mother, like Jake. Jake is pretending to be his mother and leaving messages on Steven's phone, and that's interesting. So I guess we can talk about. Do you think we're going to be seeing this guy in the third personality in the third episode?
Well, in some of the trailers and promos, they've shown 3 reflections. I mean, outside of the main character, they've shown 3 reflections. So I would have to say yes.
And this has been rated like 16 and up, I think, in places where that's the rating system they go by, which is more than just PG-13. And from I've heard people suggesting that we're going to be seeing why it got that rating as we continue on. And there's been some kind of brutal stuff so far, but nothing, I think,
not too bad.
Anything I mean, yes, putting glass in your shoes and then walking around is crazy, but they don't show, like his feet. They've killed some people. There's been gun violence. There's been car chases and whatnot, but
you had a scary moon god.
Yeah, I think, but I mean, where the last episode ended, we could see some pretty heavy stuff going on, especially considering some of the questions that were asked in this episode by Steven to, what's the bad guy's name?
Arthur.
It's so difficult to remember. It's complicated like that. So, yeah, anyway, the police show up when he's in his apartment talking to Layla. She escapes out the window. He gets taken in by the cops. They take it. They're like, look, here are evil people tattoos. That's how you can tell that we're evil. And he's like, oh no. And so they take him to this place that used to be like project housing. And now it's this, oh, look, it's a utopia. Oh, look, here's Arthur. And he's like, hey, it's great. I'm a vegan too. You're a vegan. I'm a vegan too. And then a little kid runs by talking Mandarin. And he's like, yeah, Mandarin. And speaking Chinese. And he's like, we all try to learn 3 languages here. And it's like, oh, look at this utopia we've created.
And they're all watching Animal Planet for some reason.
We want to learn about nature. Cool. You're learning. It's all about learning and learning about the planet and making perfection. And then, a little bit later, Arthur starts kind of divulging more of his thoughts. And it's like, wait, so you'd kill people before they committed a crime? And it's like, whoa, okay, crazy guy. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to go back because Simu Liu, the main character in Shang-Chi, the actor, made fun of Ethan Hawke's Mandarin, his Chinese speaking ability, to which I gotta say, I hope you were joking, but come on, it's not like he was born there, raised to see, it's clearly a second language, if anything. You really gonna complain about that? I can't believe he's not flawless at speaking that.
Well, speaking of that,
he said we're trying to learn 3 languages. Yeah. We didn't learn them.
Speaking of that, and this is more towards the accent of Steven, because every time Every time I hear him, all I can think of is Korg.
Korg. Well, which is a more of a. Yeah, it's not. It's not actually a British accent. It's more of a. I can't remember.
Australian?
No. The other place. New Zealand. New Zealand, yes. It's more of a New Zealand accent. But so you know, one of those accents, or South African, you know, one of the places where the British Empire planted a flag and now the people there speak different British.
Speak the Queen's English.
There was one comedian that said Australian. The Australian is just British slowed down. It's like they were getting off the boat into Australia. Oh, would you care for a spot of tea? And oh, crikey, that's hot. Yeah, Jeff agrees. Australian or New Zealand. That's what I was trying to think of. New Zealand. I was like, you love Lord of the Rings. Where was that shot? And I was just like, brain fart. Couldn't have it. I was like, this is terrible. Definitely not British. But that's also, here's the thing. If he's doing that intentionally, I think that's kind of awesome, because is he British? Like, what's his base personality? Like,
Mark is English, or
I thought he was American.
Well, that's what
Mark?
I meant. American, yeah.
Well, you said English.
I know.
Which, when we talk about accents,
he speaks English.
Calm down.
Connotation.
Calm down.
I'll calm down.
Calm down.
When you don't intentionally mislead the conversation.
I misspoke. My bad.
Yes. Okay. So he's American. But that's what I'm saying. Who's the base personality?
I would think it would be Mark.
And so if it's Mark, then Steven is someone he made up or is just a personality fracture. So if British, you know, the Queen's English or whatever is not his native tongue, then maybe he's faking it, and that's
like
why
me trying
it
to do a
sounds
British
wrong.
accent. It doesn't quite sound right.
Hello there, governor.
Hello, puppet.
We need to go throw another shrimp on the barbie.
Close. That's what they say there. Australian. Oh, South African. Ooh, South Africa. Yeah, let's stop doing horrible accents.
Yeah,
We're just trying to be like the main character of Moon Knight. We're talking about Moon Knight.
Which I made my point. His accent is
awful,
weird, and I think it's on purpose. I mean, just because that's not his native tongue.
A good call. But so then, what do we have next? Yeah, Ethan Hawke starts going on and on about. He starts going more into like the Egyptian deities, and he's like, the one that I worship, the one that I follow. We need to free her. It's like, okay. A second ago, you were talking about making a wonderful society and your ways to do that. Okay, you're eating right, you're helping people, everyone's great. Now, what's this about this Egyptian deity? Oh, right, because you murder people in the streets. What's that about? Well, those people are guilty. And Stevens has a very hard time with this. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, they've been judged to be guilty, and so we weed them out of the population before they can do any harm.
It's kind of like Minority Report.
I was thinking that. I was also thinking Batman, Ra's al Ghul wanted to cleanse the earth of the evildoers.
And it's also kind of extreme arrogance, because how do you know that that's what that person's going to be? And how do you know that that isn't necessary for something else to happen? Like, that person's mistakes might be necessary because everything's intertwined. You know,
that person's mistakes may fix that person.
That person, or might be what leads somebody else to become like exactly what the world needed. And when you take all of that out of it, and this is what Steven comes to realize, is he's like, if you create an actual heaven on earth, people talk about perfection. When you have perfection, that means unchanging. That means there can be no change. So that means things have to be completely forever. So you don't actually have free will. no one who would be alive in this society would have the free will to even make a bad choice. And eventually there would probably be no people. Because why do you think they locked up this goddess in the first place? Or killed her or whatever? Isn't there a tomb they're trying to find? It's like, we've got to resurrect her. I was like, what kind of god needs to be resurrected? Oh, wait. All right.
Superman. Oh, wait.
Jesus. All of them. All stories are about death and resurrection.
Neo.
Yeah, he is the one. Clever. Where'd you come up with that? Anyway, enough Jesus allegories. But not really, and they're going to keep happening. That's kind of the heroic allegory. But anyway, Stephen doesn't agree with this methodology. And Stephen's in control.
Especially
Mark
when
is
he,
there. What were you going to say?
I think I froze. I was talking and I froze.
Well, now what were you saying?
Well, I thought it was interesting when Mark starts to bring up, well, Arthur brings it up first about, if a child has a disease or somebody has a disease on their arm or whatever, you cut it off. And then Mark brings it up, well, what if it's a child? Do you do the same thing? So
and he
that
says,
was interesting. But
a person is not a limb.
Yes. You can't just cut it off and
there's other ways. Yeah, there's other ways to treat, even if you see that as the problem, there's other ways of treating this. And they talk about how it's not true justice. And that's apparently Moon God. Is it Khonshu? Khonshu. That's what he's all about. He's about visceral justice, like just like kind of Batman justice. Like, I'm gonna go find someone who's actually done something wrong and pound some justice into their skull. All right, but they have to have done something wrong first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's so there's these competing ideas of justice between these two characters, which I think is really cool. And the fact that Arthur says he's the previous avatar of Khonshu. He was doing what Moon Knight is doing now before Moon Knight. He's the previous Moon Knight. And now he signed up with this other god. And it's interesting the things that he says to Steve. He's like, there's always one more job. There's always one more thing. You're never going to get out of this cleanly. And at this point, the audience, much like Steven, kind of has no idea exactly what that means.
Are we in a Spawn situation? You're gonna go be a general or a Spawn or Ghost Rider? I'm selling my soul to the devil for.
It's to protect those that I love.
Yeah.
It's a sacrifice. Well, that's actually how Khonshu is playing Mark. Because after the whole fight, there's they start the fight. Layla shows up. She actually has the scarab, even though Mark, when Steven is controlled, Mark's telling Steven, don't dare say her name because he wants to protect her. But clearly she has her own opinions on this. I think she and Mark need to have a conversation, which they haven't been able to do really. Because the only time when Mark's been in control while Layla's been there is when they're in the middle of fighting and he's Moon Knight and she's just like, draw him away. And he's like, good deal. I'll do that. That's how he kills the jackal. And then we get some more of this from Mark's point of view. He's in control and he sees Steven in the reflection. And Steven's like, I'm going to take back over. And Mark's like, it's not that easy. Apparently, it's difficult normally to show up even in reflections. But he says something's different now. And then Khonshu comes down and he's like, you said he wouldn't be a problem. And I'm like, why does he even exist? What's happening? What's different? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, Mark said something about something like a barrier has been brought down, and that's why he was able to take over or something, and that's why he couldn't. Why Steven couldn't come back, because the barrier between them, whatever that is, has been broken down. So now Mark can be in control.
But it's like, maybe does that mean that Steven just has to wait for his time to try and like take back control, and then he'll be able to, if this guy ever goes to sleep? I think because that seems like part of the reason Steven didn't want to go to sleep is because he was worried about this kind of thing. Like, clearly he goes to sleep, but how often? Because so many times at night we just saw his character doing Rubik's cubes, literally reading a book called How to Keep Your Mind Awake.
Well, and when he did go to sleep, remember he woke up and it was like people are leaving messages. Where are you? It's been like 3 days, 4 days. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, Jeff. Yep, the slow-mo camera shots of Moon Knight on the roof running. It's absolutely awesome. And his crescent darts are the old-timey bomb. Probably just the bomb, but
The bomb.
the bomb.
The bomb.
It's the bomb.
Yeah, that scene is kind of.
But now, in whatever year this is, the audience wants action and seats with beverage holders, but mainly action.
What are you saying, Debbie?
That scene, the rooftop scene, is kind of similar to, or maybe an Easter egg for the comic. Werewolf at Night.
Okay, so speaking of comics, there was another QR code in this episode.
It was on his
It was on his foot locker, or on his foot locker.
Storage locker.
Yeah. But it was the same comic book. Did you guys get something different? It was Werewolf.
I don't do that because
by
I've got
Midnight.
Marvel, so I don't scan it because I already have Marvel.
Well, I scanned it. It was, if you got, everybody out there in YouTube land, if you got something different, if you got a different comic book, let me know, because I got the first one again, the same one as the first episode.
Well, I thought I seen something in one of the Marvel Facebook pages that it was a different comic.
No, maybe I scanned it wrong. I don't know.
Maybe you have to put it in the mirror.
Or maybe there's another QR code, and since this was the second one, there'll be 3 in the next episode, 4 in the next episode, and you just have to catch them in series.
Werewolf by Night. I knew it was in my notes somewhere. That's the comic that.
Didn't I say that?
Huh?
I swear I say that because that's the comic book that they gave you. That's the one that's on the QR code. Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't scan those because I already have Marvel.
Yes, David, you did say it, and yes, Debbie, that is
of course.
Comic, so
of course I did.
It's all coming together.
Coming full circle. It's round.
Full circle.
Debbie, go ahead.
I thought it was interesting when the cops were bringing him in, or to Arthur. I think it was the female that made a comment that he was a fugitive, and they show the archaeology dig in the 4 dead bodies because they're accusing him. Well, I guess he has.
Well, he was there as Mark,
but in the comics, he did not kill those people. It was Raoul Bashman.
Okay. So, but he was probably there, and that's where they're like, "We know you were there."
He was.
So there you go.
He was, but he wasn't the one that.
Well, maybe we'll find out
executed
as we go forward, because I mean, we'll talk about the end of the episode here in a second. But before we do that, I do want to talk about the fight, the actual fight scene in this when he summons the suit. That's the name of the episode. Summon the suit. Let's watch this one more time at least.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it.
Summon the suit!
Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
God, I love it. Anyway, so he summons a suit. He says, suit. And he's wearing a suit. And then he looks in his reflection. And Mark's also wearing the suit. And he's like, what is this?
Psycho
He's like, you said a suit. What? I think it looks good. And then he pulls out some stuff. He's like, what the hell are these? Weapons just coming out. I was like, what is this? I thought that was great. I was having fun with that. And then he tries to fight, which doesn't go well for him. What'd you guys think?
He does have powers when he's wearing the suit. Which,
well, you saw him that good punch he had, you know. And he picked up. I mean, he was using his strength seemed to be augmented. I mean, when he was falling, let's watch it again because I love it. But that would kill you.
You're gonna do a superhero landing. Wait for it. Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
He had hit
that wouldn't have killed you because he smacks his head in the pole and that slows him down.
Oh, good. He softened the blow with a lead pipe to the head. That's right.
It would have broken some bones on a normal person.
So yeah, okay. So we're just saying powers.
Powers.
Yes. And maybe this is the kind of guy that could stand a blow to the head.
It could help.
Who knows? And so, like, I mean, then he gets thrown into a car and he has other stuff. That's when he lets Mark take over. Mark takes over, does much better. That's when we have our rooftop running scene, which was pretty sweet to see him, like, jumping in front of the moon. I think I used that in the opener for this. Let's see. And then, okay. Jeff said...
Night 32.
The bus initials.
Wow.
And also on the bus, it said, I think it's like a banner on the top deck of the double-decker bus. It says, crap, I knew I should have wrote this down. It's not my notes, but GBC, which is...
I don't know.
That relates back to Falcon and Winter Soldier series. The part where the government is trying to put the displaced people back,
refugees and whatnot.
Yeah, the GRC or something like that. But those initials are on the bus. The bad, and that's the bad government.
Oh,
neat.
Just a little Easter egg.
Somebody also too, and I saw this on one of the Facebook pages, was that I guess when he was looking at his passport, or when one of the cops was looking at his passport, something about the dates, and apparently he wasn't blipped. Something about his dates and how his age and everything. He didn't blip like everybody else did,
or like half the people did. Or you're saying he blipped in a different way than everyone else.
Well, maybe
I saw one theory that was like, maybe Steven blipped and Mark didn't, and that's why he can't remember things. And I'm just like, that is not how that works. Okay? That is
not how the Force works.
He doesn't have multiple bodies. It's not like, oh, I need to be Mark's personality. Let me go to my body closet and transfer into Mark, who looks exactly the same. Why would he make them exactly the same if they're going to be different people? That's insane. That theory's insane. You're making posts about it on Facebook? Well, whatever. Still.
Who are you?
And people have called Moon Knight, I've seen, the vanilla Deadpool. But as far as I know, maybe in the comics he can, I'm not sure. But he hasn't yet in the show, like, broken the fourth wall, which is to say he knows he's in a movie or a comic book. Like, Deadpool messes with the camera. He talks to the audience. Steven talks to himself. He freaks out and has mental breakdowns. He's, got some stuff going on. But nothing he's done so far has been Deadpool-like in that manner, as breaking the fourth wall. So do you guys know, Debbie, I know you know more about the actual character of Moon Knight than I do, because you've done some research. Have you heard anything on that?
I haven't, and I really haven't in the very few comics that I have read, because I'm slow. I haven't seen any mention of that, but there's so many different iterations of Moon Knight that I wouldn't know for sure unless I read all of them, which would take me quite a bit of time because they've been out since 75. So
yeah, that's so when people make that comparison, I'm always like, hey, there's room enough for different characters, and clearly he has his own kind of thing going on, which I've been enjoying so far. Deadpool, he's crazy, but it's not like he has another personality that's not aware of what he's doing. You know, it's always Deadpool is always in control. This guy is like, there's three different people, and so that's a different dynamic. And I really enjoy it. I think it's fun to see. And if they can throw in that third character into the mix, oh my goodness. Yeah, because how did this episode end? Where does he wake up?
In Egypt.
Egypt, yeah. Where do you think we are?
Dang.
He's still Mark.
Yeah, but he's now in Egypt and drunk and whatever. But he's now in Egypt, back again to the scene of the crime. Remember how in the first episode, Steven went back to the scene of the crime? Well, now we have Mark going back to the... Also, probably that's where the tomb is that they were looking for.
It is. That's where the scarab points to.
And there you go.
And I thought it was weird because, not that scene, but when Arthur gets the scarab from that guy that just picked it up off the street.
The homeless guy, yeah.
Yeah. But he didn't use the cane to suck the life out of him. Because I kind of thought he had to use the cane in order to do that. Because that was part of Amit's powers. So I was kind of confused that Arthur could do it just by touching the guy. No use of the cane.
Well, he's maybe he's got some of his own stuff going on, and maybe kind of like Khonshu and Moon Knight, like this is who you've invested the power in, so they kind of have discretion over what they're doing with it. You can, and that's literally what Arthur kind of says when he's talking to him about Khonshu. He's like, when the wind blows that thing over, he's just like, oh, don't worry about it. That's the most he can do without using you. Because that's where the power has been invested. That's where the power has to be unleashed, is through Moon Knight. And so Moon Knight then can use that power as he sees fit in a way. Now, it's probably not going to be easy to go against Khonshu or whatever, but clearly he's not just a slave to that will. So maybe it's kind of the same with Arthur. And what is it, Amit?
Amit. Mm-hmm.
Crocodile God of justice. I don't know. It is a sweet cane.
And you know what? I'll say this. Ethan Hawke is pulling this off amazingly. I don't know anything about this character in the comic books or anything else, but whatever.
This
Ethan
character
Hawke
is nothing like it is in the comics. In the comics, he was a doctor.
I think Ethan Hawke is amazing in this role. He's doing amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm really enjoying like his character, the way that he's portraying it. You know, that benevolent murderer.
Yeah.
In an interview, he said he based his character on Mark Koresh. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the name right. Cult leader. I think it was Waco.
That's David Koresh, and that's who I was thinking of. But yes, you're right. David Koresh.
What did I say?
Mark Koresh.
My bad.
Yeah, David Koresh. The Waco Master. Yeah. No, I completely
I had
agree.
half of it right.
That's right. Oh God.
Some of us that live in Texas, that's like, that's, you got to know that kind of stuff.
I've never heard of Moon Knight breaking the fourth wall. Okay, yeah.
Except for in his
and I'm
own
fine
mind.
with it. I love the Egyptian rap song at the end of the episode. I thought that was pretty cool too. I like the sound of it. I really like the visuals that they're showing. The stuff through the reflections and everything they're doing with the broken glass and the different stuff in Egypt. I'm really excited. We're at the end of the second episode and we're like now in Egypt. I did not actually see that coming. Well,
I hope they really do a deep dive into the Egyptian mythology or the mythos or whatever you want to call it, and talk about the other what was there 9 gods altogether.
I think they're building up to that.
So I'm hoping they do a deep dive, and I know we only got 4 more episodes left, but still I hope they dig into
one of our main personalities is like a expert in hieroglyphics, and that's the Steven character. So maybe the reason like that Steven persona was even invented was to be able to find all this stuff out, because Mark couldn't. Like, oh, this person can do military stuff. And what does Jake do? What's up with Jake? What's he
in
like?
the comics? He's like I said, he's a taxi cab driver. He's a cab driver.
I wonder if he has like a cab or like a cablet. He's gonna find these keys to this cab. He's gonna hop in and he's gonna see his ID there. And it's gonna say like Jake, and he's like, I'm in Cairo. What the hell?
He'll have a limo service, and Wolverine will be working for him.
Yeah, they might do something totally different with this character, because Stephen Grant's not like he is in the comics. He's like Bruce Wayne. He's a billionaire. So
maybe he actually is a billionaire and he just can't remember. This is my mom's flat. I prefer really to stay in my mansion, but I was having night terrors and kept breaking one of my 53,000 windows, so I retired to the flat.
And I'm hoping they show more of Moon Knight or Mr. Knight, because
Moon Knight in the suit.
Yeah, because in the comics, he's like a consultant, and he's more like a Sherlock Holmes. You know, he does more of the investigating and whatnot, and he's the more acceptable face storefront of Moon Knight.
Sure, it's like if Batman could have like a midway between being Batman and Bruce Wayne type thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you take down the ears, no cape. He's in a suit. Maybe keep the ears because he's Bat. That's how you know it's the Batman. Yeah, so this is kind of like an in-between type. And it makes sense because clearly Mark in full Moon Knight regalia with cape and everything, that's your superhero. But if you have the ability to just change what it looks like at will, I think you're going to be doing that all the time. I would be taking advantage of that constantly.
I like the suit. It was nice.
It's dapper.
I didn't like it. Didn't care for it.
What?
Honestly, because there've been pictures of it all over everywhere since the first episode, and I'd looked at it and I was like, God, I hope they don't put that. I hope that's not a real thing, And then it showed up, and I was like, I pulled exactly what I was like. He looks like Deadpool. He looks like friggin' Deadpool, except he's white.
So
and I'm just like,
But that's what he looks like in the comics.
I know that's what he looks like in the comics, but
that's not like
the
his
ceremonial armor.
But he can change it. And also Deadpool doesn't always look like full suited Deadpool. Some of my favorite times is when he's like in sweats and just in his mask, or not in the mask at all.
He's in his Deadpool suit walking around in orange Crocs. #drive-by.
Ow.
God, I miss cocaine.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
It's near the end of the episode. We're getting ready to go. Guys, did you have anything else you wanted to say on Moon Knight?
The third episode, I don't know. Have you all seen the promo for episode 3?
Have not yet.
It looks really good because they're in Egypt. They show the tomb. They show somebody, I'm not quite sure who, whether it's Steven or quite possibly Jake, but I'm thinking Steven. And they make it look like he's in an insane asylum, but I kind of wonder if that's where the other identities go when they're not in control of the body, like it's a hospital.
Instead of enjoy the rubber room, enjoy this cave.
But whoever's in that room really goes bonkers. I mean, it's like they can't handle it. So it might be Steven, or maybe he is in an insane asylum. Who knows? Who knows where this show's going?
It's probably Mephisto.
Or Nightmare.
Or Nightmare, yeah.
Be weird, I think, if they actually showed up in this. But so what we got: episode 3 on the 13th, then 4 on the 20th, 5 on the 27th, 6 on the 4th, and then the next day, Doctor Strange comes out.
Also in the promo, they were showing, I can't remember what the scene was, but they were showing like that purplenish, that like what we've seen in No Way Home and in Loki.
Well, is it also like what his cane does when he summons the...
Yeah.
So...
But 2 people are floating up to the sky. And I think it's Khonshu and one of the Moon Knight characters. But it just looked weird, and it was just so similar to when the universe was cracking, both in Spider-Man and at the end of Loki. It was that same color, purple. I was like, are they doing this on purpose, or
we've already got it programmed into the computer?
Yeah, they like the color purple. So
here you go.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode. Comes out, what, 2 days. So we will be back next Monday. Ramatut. Ramatut. I don't know. I'm not familiar with this. I'm kind of experiencing it as I see it. So I don't know a lot of the backstory on Moon Knight. I'll be honest. I am enjoying it, though, I think more because of that. I kind of didn't want to look anything up so that I'll be like, obviously, when we talk about it here, I learn new things, but
well,
I'm kind of surprised by new stuff.
And to help you guys out.
And we appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. I think that's it for today. Let's see. We'll see you again next Monday. And David, do you have
Thursday
Star Wars show on
Thursday night? Cantina Happy Hour, 8:30 Central Standard Time, right here on this channel.
Force
Awakens. We're in the sequel trilogy. So,
my favorite of the sequel trilogy.
It's a difficult decision.
No, it's not.
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts.
Oh, a sarcasm detector. Well, that's a really useful invention.
All right, that's it for us today. We'll see you next Monday. Don't forget to tune in to the Star Wars Cantina Happy Hour, the Geek News Now Star Wars Cantina Happy Hour this Thursday at 9:30 Eastern. And, of course, MCU Mondays every Monday.